each other, and sometimes using language that is intemperate. Patience is being tested. Some of these things are done by government so that we can fight amongst ourselves. We must refuse to walk down that. We as Jubilee are going to refuse to walk down that path. We will work together to ensuring that unity prevails, to ensure stay together and move forward to deliver this country challenges it now faces. The worst, the crime and insecurity initiated, supported by elements of government. Finally, before I finish, you wonderful people in the press, I want you to check this on your own. Over the years, when we were in government, we always periodically did a mop-up of small arms in the wrong hands because of where we find ourselves as a country. We have porous borders around us, and we have conflict virtually in every one of our neighborhoods. And because of that, we sustained that practice of mopping small arms and burning them every so often. What is harrowing to me, even with the knowledge I have on how the security sector operates, there were armed people in that Homa Bay meeting, some of them shooting. Nobody knows whether they are actually people from the disciplined groups. My sense and suspicion is that there are far too many small arms in the wrong hands in the country, which is now fueling up the confidence of criminals and criminal activity. Now, how do we go to an election in that kind of environment? I don't want to say we're asking the government. This is common sense. It's something they know they ought to do. It's something they know they ought to do. And if they are not doing it, they are not doing it deliberately because they have an end they want to achieve. I cannot imagine how, with the kind of security resources we have in the country and the kind of infrastructure we have, we could see the violence in the scale of what we saw in Homa Bay. For 2 days, a rural county in Kenya is actually under the spell and control of criminals. For 2 days. And we behave as if this is normal. I have done my duty as a leader on behalf of my colleagues. I have pointed out to the country and I have warned that we have begun our final descension into chaos and anarchy in this country. The question is, what are we going to do as a people? My suggestion is we will have to sit down, consult all actors and choose which path we are going to follow. Because we are beyond that idea of saying we condemn what happened yesterday. We are beyond condemnation. That's what we do every time. And they know, I want to tell fellow Kenyans, people know that I usually speak bluntly this way. Let's stop this pretense. You know, we are not dealing with a normal situation now in the country. We are not. Where? When you see those kinds of things happening, and who will tell me? Who? The county commissioner or the regional commissioner to tell me that that kind of stuff would happen in your area of jurisdiction and you don't have backing from your bosses to witness that kind of nonsense going on there, where citizens are being hurt and being maimed because of politics in broad daylight. The government has chosen that. That's why it's happening. And the deployment of resources, you can see clearly this was very well choreographed, it was very well planned. You don't have to be you can tell the amount of resources being involved, the level of mobilization. The leaders in that area who are organizing that had been swearing all week. And no one is arrested these days, no one is charged in a court of law with that kind of violence. The level of impunity has gone to new levels. And so the question you ask is, do you actually believe that you can continue doing that in this country for the next 11 months and hope that there will be a country after that? The greatest question to Kenyans today and always is, which way Kenya? Are we going to allow our country to burn? Because it's clear, we have begun that path. Or are we going to allow our country to be destroyed? We must answer that question with a resounding no and follow it up with action. The action is we will sit together and figure out what legal way do we go forward, what do we do. All of us who are interested in the stability of the country, political power and all these things are secondary to the lives of our people, to the stability of our nation. Kenya is much more important than any one of us. This is something we have to think and act about. Thank you. Crispin, yeah, I'd say it, we are good. And I mean, unless there's something burning on this particular subject, please. We are having a retreat, an opposition retreat on 24th and 25th of this month. And among other things, of course, we are going to discuss the electoral environment and what we need to do as we go forward. And we are going to try to reach as many Kenyans as possible within the leadership and decision-making community. The focus being my brothers and sisters.
And many of you who are here at this press conference are people, smart, very well-educated people. Do you actually think this is the way we should run our country? Do you think this is the way we should manage our country? I mean, how?
You know, I've said before, by the way, this is something I need to point out. You know, when we comment about things and written on Kenya in the countdown to elections, predict that we are going to have violence. The Kofi Annan Foundation, I mean, the report is now public, you can see it. I saw the other day a report that was done by private investors from EU are interested in Kenya. I even made an interview I did
each other, and sometimes using language.
Raising issues about the security of the country going forward because of these wounds and the level of crime in the country. About the way we are managing our country, not necessarily in the build-up to elections, but the general attitude of the government towards the management of the country. You know, when you look at our leaders and the kind of speeches that come from their mouths, it's shocking. You wonder whether we live in the same place. And I'm saying this with all the seriousness I can master. We are destroying our country for purposes of politics. The president and the government are playing, you know, just for survival. And then because of that, anything goes. We can't lose lives day in, day out on simple matters. I mean, I've often asked the question, if from Kiambu, for example, or you come from Muranga, and the UDA leader, why should you interfere with them? They are not carrying away the residents of Muranga, they are leaving them behind. They were not carrying away the residents of Homa Bay. They were coming to talk to the residents of Homa Bay. They go away. The residents of Homa Bay would be there forever to be talked to by anyone else who wants to talk to them, including their local leaders, to convince them and tell them was telling them is not right or wrong, whatever the case may be. That's how civilized people behave. Is that a good enough reason to cause the level of mayhem we saw? So we have a problem. You know, let's stop this pretense. We have a serious problem. And it's abundantly clear the government has chosen, the president and the government have chosen this as a way of life. Because there is no way, I can tell you, trust me, I have been a minister of security. There's no way that scale of work could happen without the knowledge of the president. Because the president is briefed, you know, regularly when these decisions are happening. So, and I've said before, I know these people. I know the Inspector General of Police. He was my GSU commandant for the 5 years I was a minister. Kanja was my GSU commander. He's a good police officer. I can't understand what is going on. It must be politics that is interfering with what they're doing. The question I keep asking myself is, I mean, what is it that is causing you to sacrifice even the years of your career and the service that you have rendered to this country to ignominiously and very miserably come to the end of your career in this kind of manner. Because when consequences and accountability is called on this kind of matters, all of you know what happened at The Hague. You know, when the warrants were issued, they went to the individual leaders. They didn't go to government. They went to the individual leaders, including those who were in government at that time. And you should meet General Ali to tell you about that experience and how frustrating it can be. So let's be responsible people. What has happened this weekend is horrible for a country of our size and so on. So for the foreigners, that is it. Everyone is surprised about why we are destroying our country. You know, to be honest with you, and I was telling some colleagues of mine the other day, you know, the level of responsibility in our society and moral responsibility is very, very low, especially when it comes to issues of politics. When it comes to crime, there are only two types of people. There is an offender and an innocent person. There is no tribe. There is no Kalenjin, there is no Kisi, there is no Kikuyu, there is no Luo. You are either an offender who has committed a crime, or you are an innocent person. Now, very basic things like those, you know, are always ignored, and sometimes the temptation, like I can see, is to try and introduce, you know, ethnic angles and innuendos to conflict, so that you can split up the opposition and split up people in the opposition. And to your point more specifically, yes, it is this mobilization by politicians and paying people money that goes into this. Wananchi on their own really have no problem. I mean, they have never had problems all along. All these people, how many times has James Orengo gone to Homa Bay? We've always been visiting and working with these people. Why is it a problem this time that his motorcade has to be stoned, returned, and so on? I mean, how many times, honestly, let me ask you, how many times has James Orengo gone to Homa Bay in his life? It is this transactional politics where people think that to inflict violence and pain in the manner in which they are trying to do is the only way of asserting yourself, asserting you know, your authority, which in my very honest opinion is very foolish. Because, you know, if you are leading people, you should care for their lives first and foremost. Because when you have killed them, who are you leading? And in any case, as I ask this question, if you pay those people, those guys who are paid, those goons who are paid the way they are paid, running around and so on, terrorizing everybody, when they are done terrorizing your opponents, what will they do? That's why I keep telling these leaders that, you know, it's essentially you are living in a fool's paradise. Because this unexplained hubris, because of political power, I tell people, it comes and goes. Wengine tumekula salute sana, lakini we are here. Tumeangalia hii maneno, na hiyo salute utakula, na siku moja utashangaa vile you basically bure kabisa after, you know, you have messed up people and done all things. What are you going to tell your children when so many lives have been lost in the manner in which it happened in Homa Bay yesterday? You are turning people against each other because of politics. It's very primitive. But it's upon you, good people. Let's work together and save our country. For me, I'm interested in, let's talk about our country first, positions and anything else later. Thank you very much, and do have a nice day.
Temperature is being tested. Some of these things are done by government so that we can fight amongst ourselves. We must refuse to walk down that. We as Jubilee are going to refuse to walk down that path. We will work together
to ensuring that unity prevails, to ensure stay together and move forward to deliver this country challenges it now faces. The worst, the crime and insecurity initiated, supported by elements of government. Finally, before I finish, you wonderful people in the press, I want you to check this on your own. Over the years, when we were in government, we always periodically did a mop-up of small arms in the wrong hands because of where we find ourselves as a country. We have porous borders around us, and we have conflict virtually in every one of our neighborhoods. And because of that, we sustained that practice of mopping small arms and burning them every so often. What is harrowing to me, even with the knowledge I have on how the security sector operates, there were armed people in that Homa Bay meeting, some of them shooting. Nobody knows whether they are actually people from the disciplined groups. My sense and suspicion is that there are far too many small arms in the wrong hands in the country, which is now fueling up the confidence of criminals and criminal activity. Now, how do we go to an election in that kind of environment? I don't want to say we are.
We owe it to our children, we owe it to the future of the people of this country, that we should stand and say no to what is happening. And I think every Kenyan should ask himself or herself, is this the way this country should go? Are we sacrificing our country for political expediency and all that? And I think as a party, we are saying we must come together this time to stop what is happening. And our party leader, or deputy party leader, is speaking not as a party leader, but as a Kenyan. And we as a party are speaking as a Kenyan party and Kenyan people. So I don't want to take much time. I'd like to give our deputy party leader and our presidential candidate the opportunity to address not only the nation, but also the international community on what's happening now in our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, SG, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for turning up very early. It's because we thought that we should do this early because we have a very, very packed day of so many activities. There is that time in the life of our nation, such as we are now, when I think we need to speak to each other candidly and very sincerely about how we see the affairs of our country going. And most of what I'm going to do this morning, I feel the weight of responsibility on my shoulders as a political leader in a party, number one, and then secondly, as someone who had the privilege of serving as the Cabinet Minister for Interior and Coordination of National Government, and therefore sat in the apex of the national security infrastructure in the country for about 5 years. We have spoken about these things for a while, but it's now abundantly clear that the President and his government have chosen violence as a weapon for political survival and as a weapon for political engagement. And I'm not going to start where usually people start with these tired cliches about we condemn in the strongest terms possible, we ask for action. I'm not going to go that direction, because what we are dealing with is abundantly clear to all of us that we have come to a point where certain serious conversations must happen in this country and choices must be made. This is not rocket science. You don't need a degree in geophysics to see what is going on in the country. This weekend alone, From the stoning incident in Mulot that affected my 2 vehicles, to the stoning incident in Nakuru Town West that affected DCP leaders, and then Salga,